What if I told you that one of the most powerful and heartbreaking stories ever told about the Holocaust is told by mice? Imagine this. In 1978, a middle-aged cartoonist sits at a small table in a cramped apartment in Queens, New York. Across from him sits his elderly father, a man with numbers tattooed on his forearm, a man who survived something so terrible that he can barely speak about it without crying. The son holds a tape recorder. He asks his father to go back to Poland, back to the 1930s, back to a time before the camps, before the gas chambers, before almost everyone they loved was murdered. And what comes out of that father's mouth is a story of survival, of impossible choices, of a brother who never grew up, and of a love that somehow endured through hell itself. But here's the thing that will blow your mind. The cartoonist decided to draw this story not with human characters, but with animals. Jews are mice, Germans are cats, Poles are pigs, Americans are dogs. It sounds strange, right? Maybe even offensive? But when Art Spiegelman published the first volume of Mars, a survivor's tale in 1986, something extraordinary happened. It became the first and only graphic novel ever to win the Pulitzer Prize. It changed forever how we think about comics, about history, and about what art can do. Hello, students and literature lovers. Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most unique, powerful, and emotionally devastating works you'll ever read in your high school English class. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our breakdowns of the books you're actually studying. Trust me, you're going to want this guide for your exams and essays. Let's get into it. Introduction. The author and his revolutionary work. Who is Art Spiegelman? Art Spiegelman is an American cartoonist, editor, and comics advocate who was born in 1948 in Stockholm, Sweden, to polished Jewish parents who survived the Holocaust. He and his family immigrated to the United States when he was a young child, settling in Queens, New York. Growing up in the shadow of the Holocaust, Spiegelman experienced the trauma of his parents' past in profound and often confusing ways. His mother, Anja, suffered from severe depression throughout his childhood. His father, Vladek, was a brilliant but difficult man, obsessed with saving money, suspicious of everyone, and haunted by memories he rarely shared. Spiegelman discovered comics as a teenager and became obsessed with their potential as an art form. In the 1960s and 1970s, he became a leading figure in the underground comics movement, a scene that pushed the boundaries of what comics could be, tackling controversial subjects and experimenting with form. He wasn't interested in superheroes or funny animals. He wanted to use comics to tell serious adult stories. The idea for Mouse came to him in the early 1970s. He had recorded hours of interviews with his father about his experiences during the Holocaust. He created a short 3-page comic for an underground publication called Funny Animal. That short comic would eventually grow into a project that consumed nearly 13 years of his life and changed literary history forever. What is Mouse? Mouse is a graphic novel, a book-length work in the medium of comics that was serialized from 1980 to 1991 and published in 2 volumes. Volume I, My Father Bleeds History, published in 1986. And Here My Troubles Began, published in 1991. When the first volume was published, it caused an immediate sensation. Critics didn't know what to make of it. A comic book about the Holocaust, with animals? It seemed impossible that it could work. But readers were overwhelmed by its power. In 1992, the complete work was awarded a special Pulitzer Prize. The first and only time a graphic novel has ever received this honor. The book is often described as a mix of genres. It is a memoir because it's Artie's story of interviewing his father. It is a biography because it tells Vladek's life story. It is a history because it documents real historical events. And it is an autobiography because it's deeply personal about Artie's own struggles. This blending of genres is one of the things that makes Mouse so unique and so powerful. The revolutionary concept, animals as people, Perhaps the most striking and famous feature of Maus is Spiegelman's decision to depict different races and nationalities as different species of animals. Jews are drawn as mice, Germans are drawn as cats, Poles are drawn as pigs, Americans are drawn as dogs, French people are drawn as frogs, Gypsies or Roma people are drawn as gypsy moths. This choice is not arbitrary. It is not a cute gimmick. It serves multiple complex purposes that unfold throughout the book. First, it reflects the Nazi propaganda that dehumanized Jews. The Nazis constantly referred to Jews as vermin, rats, and subhuman. By literally drawing Jews as mice, Spiegelman forces us to confront this dehumanizing language and see it for what it is. He makes the metaphor visible. Second, it creates a powerful primal dynamic of predator and prey. Cats chase and kill mice. This perfectly captures the power relationship during the Holocaust. The Germans, as cats, are the hunters. The Jews, as mice, are the hunted. There is no escape, no negotiation, no mercy. It's a life or death struggle. Third, it allows Spiegelman to explore the arbitrariness of racial categories. Throughout the book, he complicates the metaphor. When Jewish characters try to pass as polished to avoid capture, they wear pig masks. When a German soldier turns out to be a Jew who fought for Germany in World War I, his image flickers between a cat and a mouse. In one unforgettable scene, a group of Germans hangs a group of Jews, and Spiegelman draws the hanging bodies realistically, not as mice. The metaphor breaks down at the moment of ultimate horror, reminding us that these are not animals, they are human beings. Spiegelman also uses the animal metaphor to explore identity. In the present-day sections, Artie sometimes wears a mouse mask, suggesting that his Jewish identity is something he puts on, something complicated and not fully comfortable. When he achieves fame after the first volume is published, he is shown literally wearing a mouse mask while being swarmed by reporters questioning whether his success is built on the suffering of his people. Historical context. The Holocaust and its aftermath. To understand Maus, it is essential to understand the historical reality at its core. The Holocaust was the systematic, state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million European Jews by Nazi Germany and its collaborators between 1933 and 1945. This genocide is the central event around which Vladek Spiegelman's story revolves. The novel details the escalating persecution of Jews in 1930s Poland. It shows the gradual stripping away of rights, the violence and humiliation, the establishment of ghettos where Jews were forced to live in overcrowded, disease-ridden conditions, the deportations to concentration camps, and the unimaginable horrors of places like Auschwitz and Dachau. But Maus also gives us the aftermath. It is set in the 1970s and 80s, a time when survivors were beginning to share their stories more widely. It was also a time when the long-term psychological effects of the Holocaust on survivors and their children were becoming a subject of study and public conversation. Terms like survivor's guilt and intergenerational trauma were entering the vocabulary. Maus is one of the first and most powerful works to explore these concepts in depth. The book also reflects the specific historical moment of its creation. Spiegelman began working on it in the late 1970s, a time when Holocaust denial was becoming a disturbing phenomenon. By creating a work of such painstaking detail and emotional truth, he was in part fighting against those who would deny or minimize what happened. Part 1. Plot summary. Weaving past and present, Maus operates on two main timelines that are constantly interwoven. The present timeline from 1978 to 1979 shows Artie interviewing his father, Vladek, in his home in Rego Park, Queens. The past timeline depicts Vladek's memories of the Holocaust, from the years leading up to the war through his liberation and reunion with Anja. Understanding this dual structure is key to the book's power. It lives in Vladek's every gesture, his every fear, his every relationship, and it lives in Artie, the son who never experienced the camps, but carries their weight nonetheless. Volume I. My Father Bleeds History, Chapter 1. The Sheikh, the book opens not in the past, but in the present. It is 1958 in Rego Park, Queens. A young Artie is roller skating with his friends. He falls and scrapes his knee, and when he calls for his friends to wait for him, they keep going, leaving him behind. When he gets home and tells his father, Vladek responds in his characteristic broken English. Friends, your friends, your friends. If you lock them together in a room with no food for a week, then you could see what it is, friends. This tiny, seemingly insignificant moment is actually a perfect introduction to Vladek's worldview. His entire personality has been forged by his experiences during the Holocaust. He trusts no one. He believes that in the end, everyone will look out for themselves. He hoards money. He obsesses over small savings. He drives his second wife crazy with his miserly habits. These are not just quirks. They are survival mechanisms that kept him alive in the camps, but in peacetime, they make him difficult, frustrating, and lonely. The narrative then jumps to 1978. Artie is now an adult, a struggling cartoonist living in New York. He visits his aging father. Vladek is elderly and in poor health, dealing with heart problems and diabetes. He has remarried a woman named Mala, also a Holocaust survivor, after the suicide of Artie's mother, Anja, in 1968. Their relationship is tense and unhappy. Vladek is controlling and miserly with Mala, just as he was with Anja. Mala feels unappreciated and trapped. Artie's purpose for the visit is to record his father's story. He brings a tape recorder and notebooks. Vladek, despite his grumbling, agrees to tell his story. He begins at the beginning. He recounts his life in pre-war Poland, in the city of Częstochowa. He is a young, handsome, and ambitious textile salesman. He meets a wealthy and intelligent young woman named Anja Zilberberg. Their courtship is complicated. Anja's family, the Zilberbergs, are wealthy and influential. They are not thrilled about their daughter marrying a textile salesman, even a successful one. Also, Vladek has an old girlfriend, Lucia, who refuses to let him go. She writes jealous letters to Anja and even threatens violence. But Vladek persists. He woos Anja with charm and persistence. They marry in 1937 and move to Sosnowiec, where Vladek goes to work in Anja's family's textile factory. Their first son, Rishu, is born. Chapter 2. The honeymoon. Vladek's story continues. Anja suffers from severe postpartum depression after Rishu's birth. She becomes anxious, withdrawn, and unable to function. The family decides to send her to a sanitarium in Nazi-occupied Czechoslovakia to recover, and Vladek goes with her. This is deeply ironic. They are in a mental health facility while the world outside is sliding into madness. While they are away, political tensions in Poland escalate dramatically. Hitler is gaining power. By the time they return, the situation for Jews has deteriorated significantly. They can feel the noose tightening, even if they don't yet know how bad it will get. Chapter 3. Prisoner of War, September 1st, 1939. Germany invades Poland. World War II begins. Vladek is drafted into the Polish army and sent to the front lines. He fights briefly, but is quickly captured by the Germans. He becomes a prisoner of war. The conditions in the Paudio camp are horrific. The Germans treat Polish prisoners brutally, but they treat Jewish prisoners even worse. Vladek, being visibly Jewish, is segregated and subjected to extra abuse. But he survives through a combination of resourcefulness, maintaining his health, and daily prayer. He manages to get slightly better treatment by pretending to be a Polish soldier rather than a Jew. though the risk of exposure is constant. He's eventually released when the Germans decide to send the Polish home, but not the Jewish ones. He must make his way back to Sosnowiec, now under German control, to find Anja. The journey is dangerous. He has no papers, no money, and no protection. Chapter 4. The news tightens. Vladek returns to Sosnowiec and reunites with Anja. Life under Nazi occupation becomes increasingly oppressive and terrifying. The Germans establish ghettos, forcing all Jews into overcrowded, walled-off sections of the city. Jews are forced to wear armbands with the Star of David. They are subject to random violence, humiliation, and murder. Curfews are imposed. Food is scarce. The family faces impossible choices. They hear rumors of what is happening in other cities, mass executions, deportations to camps. They know they must find ways to hide, to escape, to survive. They decide to send their beloved son, Richu, to what they believe is a safer hiding place with a relative, Tasha, in the town of Zawiercie. This decision will haunt them forever. It is the most painful choice parents can make, to send their child away in the hope of saving them. In a devastating sequence, as the Germans begin clearing the ghettos and deporting everyone to the death camps, Tosha, fearing capture and knowing what awaits children in the camps, makes an unimaginable decision. She poisons herself, her own children, and little Richu to avoid being sent to the gas chambers. They all die together. This is the first great tragedy of the family's war. Vladek and Anja will never see their son again. They will never know if there was another way. Richu becomes a ghost who haunts the rest of their lives, and eventually he haunts Artie too, the perfect dead brother who can never be competed with. Chapter 5. Mouse holes. Back in Sosnowiec, Vladek and Anja are forced into the ghetto. They witness the systematic removal of their family and friends. People disappear every day. Some are shot in the streets. Others are rounded up and never seen again. Vladek, ever resourceful, builds elaborate hiding places, bunkers hidden behind walls, under floors, in attics. He calls them mouse holes, a phrase that takes on new meaning given the animal metaphor. They hide during roundups, sometimes for days at a time, in cramped, dark spaces with little food or water. Vladek also becomes a master of bribery and trade. He uses his remaining valuables to bribe guards and officials. He disguises himself as a Polish man to move around outside the ghetto, finding food and information. He is constantly risking his life, but he keeps going because he has to keep Anja alive. Chapter 6. Mouse trap. The net closes in. Vladek and Anja, along with surviving family members, are betrayed by informants, Poles who collaborate with the Germans for money or favors. They are caught and held in a large stadium with thousands of other captured Jews. A moment of crisis. An elderly woman, Anja's mother, is part of a group being sent immediately to Auschwitz. Vladek realizes that the Germans are sorting people. The old, the young, the sick are being sent to death. He manages to save himself and Anja by claiming they are young and capable of work. They have papers proving they worked in a tin factory, which makes them valuable laborers. But they cannot save Anja's parents, who are taken away to their deaths. In a desperate plan, they arrange with smugglers to escape to Hungary, which is still relatively safe. But it is a trap. The smugglers are collaborators. On the train, they are arrested by the Gestapo. The final panel of Volume 1 shows the gates of Auschwitz with the infamous motto Arbeit macht frei, work sets you free, above them. Vladek and Anja have arrived at the epicenter of the Holocaust. The volume ends on this note of dread and uncertainty. Interlude. Prisoner on the Hell Planet. A case history between Volume 1 and Volume 2. Spiegelman inserts something completely unexpected. It is a short, jarringly different comic called Prisoner on the Hell Planet. A case history, this section is drawn in a stark, expressionistic style that is totally different from the rest of Moss. The lines are harsh and jagged, the shading is dramatic, and crucially, the characters are depicted as humans, not animals. They are recognizable people, Artie, his mother, his father. It is Artie's raw, personal account of his mother Anja's suicide in 1968, when he was 20 years old. He describes coming home from college, finding his mother's body in the bathtub, and the overwhelming grief and guilt that followed. He describes his father's reaction, his own spiral into depression, and his time in a mental hospital. The comic is brutally honest about his feelings of responsibility and his anger at his mother for leaving him. The inclusion of this deeply personal story is crucial for several reasons. First, it explains Artie's own trauma. He is not just a neutral interviewer. He is a deeply wounded son trying to understand his parents and himself. Second, it reveals that the pain of the Holocaust did not end in 1945. It was passed down to the next generation in ways that are complex and painful. Anja survived the camps, but she could not survive peacetime. The trauma that kept her alive in Auschwitz eventually killed her. Third, it sets up one of the central conflicts of Volume 2, the burning of Anja's diaries. Volume 2, and here my troubles began. Chapter 1, Auschwitz. Volume 2 opens in the present, with Artie struggling to begin the second part of the book. He is overwhelmed by the weight of the story and the unexpected fame from the first volume. He is shown sitting at his drawing table, surrounded by swastikas and a pile of dead mice, visually representing his creative paralysis. He feels inadequate to the task. He worries that he is exploiting his father's suffering for commercial gain. He is haunted by the faces of the millions who died. He visits his psychiatrist, a Czech Holocaust survivor named Paul Pavel, to discuss his feelings of guilt and inadequacy. Pavel is a thoughtful, gentle man who helps Artie explore his complex emotions. He talks about survivors' guilt, the feeling that many survivors have that they should have died instead of others, that they don't deserve to live when so many better people perished. Artie realizes that he has a kind of second-hand survivor's guilt, feeling that his easy life is built on the suffering of his parents. The narrative then shifts back to the past. Vladek describes his arrival at Auschwitz. He details the brutal dehumanization process, being stripped naked, having all his hair shaved off, being disinfected with harsh chemicals, and being issued a striped prisoner uniform. Most horrifying of all, he is tattooed with a number on his left forearm. He becomes 16,670. He is no longer a person. He is a number. He describes the daily reality of the camp, the roll calls that lasted for hours in freezing weather, the starvation rations, the back-breaking labor, the constant threat of being selected for the gas chambers if you become too weak to work. He survives through a combination of luck, intelligence, and sheer will. He manages to get a slightly better job by teaching English to a Polish capo, a prisoner foreman who is given authority over other prisoners. Capos were often brutal and corrupt, but this one is decent, and the extra food and protection he provides make a huge difference. Vladek eventually secures a position as a tinsmith and later as a shoe repairman, which is easier labor and keeps him out of the worst details. Through incredible risk, he learns that Anja is alive in the nearby Birkenau camp. He manages to re-establish contact with her, exchanging messages through intermediaries. He even saves cigarettes to bribe guards so she can be transferred closer to him. Their love, which has survived so much, becomes a source of hope and strength. Chapter 2. Auschwitz, Time Flies. This chapter opens with one of the most stunningly metafictional sections in all of literature. It is now 1987, and the first volume of Maus has become a huge commercial and critical success. Artie is shown at his drawing table, now literally wearing a mouse mask, swarmed by reporters and businessmen who want a piece of him. The page is littered with dead mice and flies, representing the millions who died. The flies buzz around Artie as he is interviewed, a constant reminder of the death that his success is built upon. He is plagued by guilt. He worries that he is profiting from tragedy. He wonders if he has any right to tell this story. He continues his sessions with his psychiatrist, exploring his complex feelings about his father and the shadow of his dead brother, Richu. Richu is the perfect child, the one who died, the one who can never disappoint, the one Artie can never live up to. There is a photograph of Richu hanging in his parents' bedroom, and Artie has always felt like he's competing with a ghost. Back in the past, Vladek describes the constant threat of the selection. The periodic screenings where the Nazis would choose prisoners who were too weak to work to be sent to the gas chambers. He survives these through his resourcefulness, always managing to look healthy and capable enough to be spared. He also describes moments of small rebellion and human connection, like sharing food with friends or exchanging whispered words of hope. But the horror is ever present. He describes seeing the chimneys of the crematoria smoking day and night. He describes the smell. He describes the screams. Chapter 3. And here my troubles began. As the Soviet army advances towards Auschwitz in late 1944, the Nazis begin to evacuate the camp. They do not want prisoners to be liberated and tell their stories. Vladek is forced on a death march in the brutal Polish winter. Thousands of prisoners are marched for miles through snow and ice. Those who cannot keep up are shot by the side of the road. Vladek survives by sheer will, but he is weakening. From there, he is packed into an open train car. No roof, no food, no water, no protection from the cold, and transported to Gross Rosen, another concentration camp. Conditions there are even worse, with starvation and disease rampant. Then he is moved again, this time to Dachau in Germany. Dachau is a name that strikes terror into prisoners. It is one of the oldest and most notorious camps. In Dachau, conditions are beyond description. There is almost no food. Here, prisoners die by the hundreds every day. Vladek contracts typhus, a deadly disease spread by lice. He becomes dangerously ill, delirious with fever, barely conscious. He is near death. After everything he has survived, the ghettos, the hiding Auschwitz, the death march, he is going to die of disease days before liberation. Chapter 4. Saved. In the final chapter, the war is ending. The Germans are in retreat on all fronts. The Nazis, in a final desperate act, attempt to blow up the camp to destroy the evidence of their crimes, but they are overrun by American troops before they can complete the destruction. The day of liberation arrives. American soldiers enter Dachau. They find thousands of emaciated, dying prisoners. Vladek, barely conscious, is among them. An American soldier gives him food, chocolate, canned goods. But Vladek's starved body cannot handle rich food. He becomes violently ill. It's a darkly ironic moment. After years of starvation, food almost kills him. The war is over. Vladek has survived. He begins a slow, painful recovery. He searches desperately for news of Anja. He doesn't know if she survived. He travels back to Poland, to Sosnowiec, hoping against hope. And there, in their hometown, they are finally, joyfully reunited. They have lost everything: their son, their families, their homes, their former lives. But they have each other. The book returns to the present. Vladek has finished his story. He is lying in bed, exhausted from the emotional labor of recounting his past. The telling has drained him. He turns over in bed and, in a heartbreaking slip, calls Artie by the name of his dead brother. "I'm tired from talking, Richu, and it's enough stories for now." The final image of the book is a photograph of Vladek and Anja's tombstone with the dates of their births and deaths. Vladek died in 1982 before the book was completed. The epitaph is written by Art. Below the photograph, Artie has drawn a small image of Vladek and Anja's graves. The Holocaust is over. The story is told, but the memory and the loss remain forever etched in stone. Part 2. Character analysis. Art Spiegelman. Artie is the narrator, the interviewer, and the cartoonist. He is also a deeply complex character in his own right. He is presented as neurotic, guilt-ridden, and sometimes self-pitying. He struggles with his difficult relationship with his father, the trauma of his mother's suicide, and the overwhelming burden of representing the Holocaust. Artie's journey in the book is one of trying to understand his father, and through that to understand himself. He is both a participant in the story and its creator. He steps in and out of the narrative, commenting on the process of making the book, showing his own doubts and failures. This self-awareness makes him a sympathetic figure, even when he is being difficult or self-absorbed. One of Artie's deepest struggles is his feeling of inadequacy compared to his dead brother, Richu. There is a photograph of Richu hanging in his parents' bedroom, and Artie has always felt that he can never measure up to this idealized dead child. Richu is perfect because he never grew up, never made mistakes, never disappointed anyone. Artie, the living son, can only fail in comparison. Artie also struggles with survivor's guilt, even though he never experienced the camps. He feels that his comfortable life in America is built on the suffering of his parents and the millions who died. He wonders if he has any right to tell this story. He worries that he is exploiting tragedy for commercial gain. These doubts are not resolved. They are part of the book. Vladek Spiegelman. Vladek is the central figure of the past narrative and the driving force of the book. He is a man of contradictions, brilliant and petty, heroic and difficult, loving and withholding. In the past, during the Holocaust, Vladek is a hero of survival. He is incredibly intelligent, resourceful, and determined. He speaks multiple languages. He can fix almost anything. He knows how to trade and bribe. He understands people and how to manipulate them. These traits keep him alive again and again. He saves himself and Anja multiple times through sheer ingenuity. In the present, however, these same survival instincts have become neurotic and annoying habits. He is miserly, hoarding money and obsessing over small savings, even though he is financially comfortable. He is suspicious of everyone, including his own son and his second wife. He is stubborn and controlling. He drives Mala crazy with his demands and his refusal to spend money on anything. Vladek is also a man of deep, unexpressed emotion. He loves Anja deeply, and her suicide devastates him, though he rarely speaks of it. He loves Artie, but he expresses it through criticism and worry rather than warmth. He is haunted by the memory of Richu, the son he could not save. One of the most troubling aspects of Vladek's character is his prejudice. In one scene, he sees a black hitchhiker and immediately fears him, revealing a racism that is deeply uncomfortable. This moment complicates our sympathy for him. He is a victim of racism, but he is also capable of racism himself. He is not a simple hero. He is a complex, flawed human being. Anja Spiegelman. Anja is Artie's mother and Vladek's first wife. She is depicted as intelligent and sensitive, but prone to anxiety and depression. Her story is crucial to the narrative, but it is also a story of gaps and silences. During the Holocaust, Anja is more fragile than Vladek. She suffers from depression and anxiety. She relies on Vladek for protection and support, but she is also strong in her own way. She survives the camps, which is a testament to her resilience. After the war, Anja struggles to adjust to normal life. The trauma of the Holocaust, combined with the loss of her first son, is too much to bear. She suffers from severe depression and is hospitalized multiple times. In 1968, she commits suicide, leaving behind diaries that detailed her experiences during the war. These diaries are burned by Vladek after her death, a decision that enrages Artie. The burning of the diaries symbolizes the loss of Anja's own voice and perspective. We never get to hear her version of events. She remains a tragic, somewhat elusive figure, a woman whose story is told mostly through her husband's memories and whose own words have been destroyed. Mala Spiegelman. Mala is Vladek's second wife, also a Holocaust survivor. She is often the target of Vladek's miserly and controlling behavior, and their marriage is deeply unhappy. Through her, we see the long-term damage the Holocaust inflicted on personal relationships. Mala is trapped in a marriage with a man who cannot trust, cannot love freely, cannot let go of his survival mechanisms. She feels unappreciated and trapped, and her frustration is palpable. Mala also serves as a contrast to Vladek. She is more open, more emotionally available. She tries to connect with Artie and to explain Vladek's behavior. She is a sympathetic figure, a victim of Vladek's damage as much as a companion to him. Art Spiegelman. Riccio is Vladek and Anja's firstborn son, who was killed during the war. Though he never appears as a living character in the book, he is a ghost who haunts the entire narrative. His photograph hangs on the wall. His name is spoken with sorrow. He is the idealized child that Artie can never compete with. Artie's feelings about Rishu are complex. He resents the way his parents idealize the dead son. He feels that he can never measure up. At the same time, he feels guilty for resenting a child who died so horribly. Rishu is a symbol of everything the Holocaust destroyed: innocence, potential, the future itself. Pavel, Artie's psychiatrist. Pavel is a Czech Holocaust survivor who becomes Artie's psychiatrist. He is a thoughtful, gentle man who helps Artie explore his complex emotions. He talks about survivor's guilt from his own experience, and he helps Artie understand that his feelings are normal. Pavel serves as a wise counselor, a voice of reason in Artie's turmoil. He also represents the many survivors who struggled silently with their trauma. Part 3, Key Themes, Survival and Guilt. The novel explores what it takes to survive: resourcefulness, intelligence, luck, and sometimes a degree of selfishness. Vladek's story is a testament to the will to live. He does things during the Holocaust that are morally complex. He bribes, he manipulates, he sometimes looks out for himself at the expense of others. These actions are not presented as noble, but as necessary for survival. The novel asks us to consider what we would do in his situation. However, survival also brings a profound sense of guilt. Survivors like Vladek and Pavel discuss the survivor's guilt of living when so many others, including their own families, perished. Why did I survive when my brother died? Why did I live when my mother was gassed? These questions have no answers, but they haunt survivors for the rest of their lives. Artie inherits a form of this guilt. He feels that he has had an easy life because his parents suffered so much. He feels unworthy of his success. He wonders if he has any right to tell this story. The novel suggests that trauma is not confined to those who directly experienced it. It is passed down to the next generation in ways that are complex and painful. Trauma and Memory. Maus is a profound meditation on how trauma is experienced, remembered, and transmitted across generations. Vladek's present-day personality is a direct result of his past trauma. His miserliness, his suspicion, his difficulty with emotional connection, all of these are survival mechanisms that kept him alive in the camps, but make him difficult in peacetime. The act of recording the story is an attempt to capture and preserve memory. Artie uses a tape recorder, notebooks, and his art to document his father's experiences. But the book also shows how memory is fallible, painful, and shaped by the present. Vladek remembers some things in vivid detail, but forgets or distorts others. His memory is colored by his emotions and his current situation. The novel also explores the relationship between individual memory and historical memory. Vlad's story is one of millions, but it is unique and specific. By telling it, Artie is contributing to the collective memory of the Holocaust. He is ensuring that his father's story and the stories of the millions who died are not forgotten. Father-son relationships at its heart. Maus is a story about a son trying to connect with his difficult, damaged father. Their interviews are fraught with tension, misunderstanding, and unspoken love. Artie wants the story, but he also wants a father. Vladek gives the story, but in his own way, with his own agenda. Their relationship is the emotional core of the frame narrative. We see Artie's frustration with his father's miserliness and stubbornness. We see Vladek's disappointment in his son's choices. But we also see moments of connection, of shared grief, of love that is expressed in complicated ways. The book also explores the relationship between fathers and sons across generations. Vladek lost his father in the Holocaust. Artie is trying to understand his father's experience, and Artie himself is childless during the events of the book, raising questions about what will be passed on to the next generation. Dehumanization and identity. The animal metaphor is central to this theme. The Nazis' goal was to dehumanize Jews, to strip them of their individuality and reduce them to vermin. Spiegelman's art forces us to confront this dehumanization while also constantly reminding us that these are not animals. They are human beings with human stories. The use of masks is particularly powerful. When Jewish characters try to pass as polished to avoid capture, they wear pig masks. This symbolizes the necessity of hiding one's true identity for survival. It also highlights the performative nature of identity under the Nazi regime. Who you are is not fixed. It can be hidden, performed, or violently stripped away. Spiegelman also explores the arbitrariness of racial categories. When a German soldier turns out to be a Jew who fought for Germany in World War I, his image flickers between a cat and a mouse. This suggests that the categories of Jew and German are not biological or fixed. They are social constructs that can be manipulated and blurred. The unspeakable and representation. How does one represent the horror of the Holocaust? This is a question that plagues Artie throughout the book. He shows his own creative block, his self-doubt, and his fear that any representation will be inadequate or exploitative. He worries that comics are too trivial a medium for such a serious subject. He worries that he is profiting from tragedy. The book itself is his answer. By not pretending to have all the answers, by showing the process of its own creation, and by focusing on one deeply human story, he creates a powerful and honest representation. He doesn't try to depict the gas chambers directly. He shows the smoke and lets us imagine the rest. He doesn't try to speak for the millions who died. He tells one man's story and trusts that it will stand for the rest. The novel suggests that the Holocaust is ultimately unspeakable, that no representation can fully capture its horror. But it also suggests that we must try to speak, to tell the stories, to remember. Silence is not an option. The Legacy of Trauma, Mouse, is one of the first works to explore the concept of intergenerational trauma, the idea that trauma can be passed down from parents to children. Artie has never experienced the camps, but he carries their weight nonetheless. He has nightmares. He feels guilty. He struggles with depression. He is haunted by a brother he never knew. Well, the novel suggests that trauma is not something that ends when the event ends. It lives on in the survivors, in their children, and in their children's children. It shapes personalities, relationships, an entire worldview. The Holocaust did not end in 1945. It continues to reverberate through the generations. Part 4. Symbolism in the novel. The animal metaphor, as discussed extensively. This is the most pervasive and complex symbol in the book. It represents dehumanization, the predator-prey dynamic, and the arbitrariness of racial categories. But Spiegelman doesn't use it mechanically. He plays with it, breaks it down, and complicates it throughout the book. The metaphor also allows Spiegelman to explore identity in a visual way. When characters wear masks, we see identity as something that can be put on and taken off. When a character's image flickers between species, we see the instability of categories. The metaphor is not a simple equation. It is a tool for thinking. The number, the tattoo, Vladek's tattoo, 16670, is a symbol of his erasure as an individual and his reduction to a numbered prisoner in the camp system. It is a permanent mark of his dehumanization. He will carry it for the rest of his life, a constant reminder of what he endured. The number also connects Vladek to the millions of others who were tattooed. He is one among many. His story is unique, but his number links him to the collective experience of the camps. The bicycle in the present-day scenes, Vladek often rides a stationary bicycle while telling his story. This is a powerful and subtle symbol. As he pedals, he is both physically exerting himself for his health and metaphorically trying to move forward or escape the painful memories he is recounting. But he cannot escape. The memories catch up with him, leaving him dizzy and exhausted. The bicycle goes nowhere. He pedals in place, just as he is stuck in the past. The soup can. In Auschwitz, Anja is assigned a task of carrying a heavy can of soup. She is too weak and often spills it, for which she is beaten. The heavy soup can symbolizes the unbearable burden of her suffering and the daily, impossible struggle for survival in the camps. It is a small object, but it carries enormous weight, both literally and metaphorically. The mask, the pig masks worn by Jews trying to pass as Poles, symbolize the necessity of hiding one's true identity for survival. They also highlight the performative nature of identity under the Nazi regime. Who you are is not fixed. It can be hidden, performed, or violently stripped away. The masks also raise questions about authenticity. If you wear a mask long enough, do you become the mask? Is identity what you are born with, or what you perform? These questions resonate throughout the book. Anja's diaries, these lost diaries, are a powerful symbol of lost memory and the stories that will never be told. Anja's own voice, her own perspective on the Holocaust, is destroyed when Vladek burns her notebooks. This represents a second death for Anja, the death of her story, her truth, her voice. Artie's rage at his father for burning the diaries is profound. He feels that he has been robbed of his mother's story, of a chance to know her more deeply. The burning of the diaries becomes a symbol of all that is lost in trauma, not just lives, but memories, perspectives, and truths. The photograph of Richu that hangs in Vladek's bedroom is a constant reminder of loss and the idealized dead child. It haunts Artie, who feels he can never compete with a brother who died as a child and therefore never made mistakes. The photograph represents the way trauma freezes the dead in time, making them perfect and unattainable. The tombstone, the final image of the book, is a photograph of Vladek and Anja's tombstone. It is a stark reminder of mortality and the finality of death. But it is also a testament to memory. The tombstone marks their graves, but the book itself is a different kind of monument, a living memorial to their story. Part 5. Key quotes to remember. Friends, your friends. Your friends. If you lock them together in a room with no food for a week, then you could see what it is. Friends, Vladek. Chapter 1. This early quote establishes Vladek's survival-based worldview and the central theme of trust. I can't tell you his real name. He's still living in Poland. I don't want to get him in trouble. Vladek, often. Vladek's insistence on protecting the names of those who helped or hurt him highlights the ongoing fear and secrecy that persisted long after the war. You murdered me, Mommy, and left me here to take the rap. Artie in Prisoner on the Hell Planet. This raw line captures Artie's overwhelming guilt and anger following his mother's suicide. Maybe it's better not to have any more stories. Pavel, Artie's psychiatrist, in a moment of despair about the endless Holocaust stories. This reflects the deep existential exhaustion that comes with such immense trauma. I'm tired from talking, Richu, and it's enough stories for now. Vladek, final words of his narrative, a heartbreaking conclusion where the exhausted Vladek, lost in memory, calls Artie by his dead brother's name. showing how the past and present have finally merged. He was never my brother. He was my father's ghost, Artie, reflecting on Richu. This captures the complex relationship between Artie and the idealized dead brother. I feel so inadequate trying to reconstruct a reality that was worse than my darkest dreams. Artie, struggling with his art. This expresses the central anxiety of representing the Holocaust. Conclusion: Maus is a monumental achievement in literature. By choosing the graphic novel format, Art Spiegelman found a way to tell a story that is at once epic and intimate, historical and personal. It forces us to see the Holocaust not as an abstract event, but through the eyes of one man, a flawed, complicated, and unforgettable survivor. At the same time, it gives us the story of the son, struggling under the weight of that legacy, trying to connect, to understand, and to create. The animal metaphor, far from being a gimmick, becomes a powerful tool for exploring dehumanization, identity, and the arbitrariness of racial categories. The dual timeline structure shows how trauma is not confined to the past, but lives on in the present, shaping personalities and relationships across generations. Most importantly, Maus is a book about love. The love between a husband and wife who somehow survived held together. The love between a father and son who struggled to connect across a chasm of trauma and misunderstanding. It is a book about the impossibility of escaping the past, the power of memory, and the enduring bond between generations. The final image of Vladek and Anja's tombstone is a reminder that the survivors are gone now, but their stories remain. And as long as we read Maus, as long as we tell these stories to each other, the memory of what happened will not die. The mice will not be forgotten. Thank you for watching. If this breakdown helped you understand Maus better, please like and subscribe for more literature guides. And remember, as Art Spiegelman showed us, the most powerful stories can be told in the most unexpected ways.